How much exactly did you make?
So $12,600 closed.
Fantastic. From engineer to freedom business, this is a very, very inspiring story I have for you here today. This is our client Varun, and he came to us not knowing what it is that he could be coaching. He was very unsure about himself, wasn't sure if he was good enough, but he had a passion in communication, and we helped him build that passion into a very lucrative six-figure business in the B2B niche. So I asked him for a quick interview about the process and how exactly it looks like, so you know how you could potentially do that too. So enjoy the interview and let's get you started. Your niche is actually pretty interesting. What exactly are you helping people with?
If I were to boil it down, I'm teaching engineering managers how to sell. Basically, like, they go into the meetings, they have to convince people, they have to get approvals from management to get their projects initiated, or communication, but in professional sense. So how do you tell a story? How do you represent your team? How do you motivate your team? Things like that. So I started this out with like very new professionals early on, because that's the audience I thought I resonated with. And that's where I was clearly going wrong, because that was not the audience that really needed it. Then I worked my way up, and then went to senior engineers. And then I found out that, okay, it's the managers who really require this kind of skill to grow up in their career. So now I show them that, okay, if you can improve your communication, if I can show you how you can improve your communication, then that directly translates into your career success. Yeah, that's the offer that I gave them.
How exactly did you get to this? What was the process of how you found out what your niche is and what you could offer?
Everything, honestly, I never had this idea that I'd be doing this, honestly. So I'm like a long time member, or like I'm one of the slow movers in FBM, if I may say. And initially, I didn't even have this idea that, okay, I'll capitalize on my social skills. And that was a learned skill for me, right? Because I was following you from earlier. So that was also part of like, okay, I learned it in a step-by-step manner. So then I thought like, but when I joined FBM, I was trying to so I'm also a master's in electrical engineering, and I was doing an electrical engineering job at that time. So I was thinking like, okay, maybe I can do something like that. But then I talked to coaches, I found out that, okay, breaking into this market, and then having to build, like, my idea was to build an actual physical product. And that was like really, really, like, getting started was really hard. Needless to say, like, to build it on the side of my job was really hard. So then I thought like, what else? And so you had that worksheet of what are your skills. So I just like randomly put this as a skill of, okay, maybe I can do social skills, right? And they're like, yeah, why don't you do that? And so then from there, it was mostly about, I knew that I can teach that. I just didn't know who I can teach that to and what exactly is the result that I'm delivering. And that was the longer process. And ever since, like, I tweaked everything, like any major, like, next close or next good thing has happened in my business is when I've clarified my offer further. So that has been the process for me.
That sounds actually really cool. So it was actually like totally random. And then we step by step aligned your skill with an affluent target audience. And then we just started making it work. Here's my question. Since you also mentioned you kind of been dabbling around a little bit, and, it took you a while, and then all of a sudden you started getting closes and more, and then boom, within a 4-week period, you just make over 10K. So what was the deciding factor?
I think it was marketing, because I started attending the BBM live calls, and then with that, the more important thing was like, I asked you, okay, I'm trying all of these kinds of posts that are not working or sticking, and then I talked to you about like, okay, these posts were pretty shallow in the sense of people don't know what I'm doing or not giving enough value. So that's when I started giving them some more value. Okay, this is what is possible, and all of that, and people start resonating with that. So that's when I started getting more and more offers.
Sick. Okay, so it was really just like the marketing and giving you a little bit more value. Like it. Sounds good. And just to confirm, we always do that. You don't run ads and you don't have a big social media following or any of that, right?
No ads. And the only social media I'm active on from business-wise is LinkedIn. That's where I have like 3,000 connections built over time.
But even that is like nothing.
Yeah, that's like nothing.
It's so cool. Yeah, tell us more about the process. Like, what kind of process have you implemented from our program on LinkedIn that gets you your clients worth 10K a month?
One big thing was like, of course, the branding aspect of it, like, the right from cover photos, what you're writing in your bio and everything. So that I started like doing along with FBM. And then the other aspect was like your flywheel strategy of, okay, you create value for people, and then you also like message them, and then kind of blend these things together. And then the most important thing was like, okay, you learn how to refine with your audience. So each time you get a little feedback, and that was the biggest thing for me. Like, okay, it was like I'm very slow to take that feedback, but every time I apply that, boom, like, I see clear increment in my business. Those were some things. And then I talked to you about a newsletter, and you said that one of the other clients of yours have a newsletter and they're doing successfully. That is running very successfully for me too now, because like I put out weekly, right before this call, I was like finishing this week's newsletter, and right after this call, I'll publish that. And that now has roughly 750 followers and subscribers. So
nice.
they're reading, and since last week, actually, people are messaging me, or there have been 6 instances of people telling me on call or messages that, hey, we really like the content, can we talk more?
That's obviously fantastic, Varun. That's super cool to hear that you're stepping up there and that people are coming to you. That's exactly what the whole flywheel approach is supposed to do. You're slowly but steadily building it up, and then people are coming to you more and more. So that's obviously fantastic. And in your case, the whole flywheel approach is like start building a newsletter around that, and you have people coming to you. So that's pretty sick, man.
Your background looks like it's a virtual background. I mean, it's cool in that sense.
That is actually a good point to prove that it's not a virtual background.
Yeah.
This is all real. I can pick this up. That is actually a good point, man. It looks like the fakest, shittiest virtual background. Where were you before you came to us? I do remember you said you tried to sell physical products. Guide us a little bit, shed some light on the Varun of the past compared to the Varun of you now.
Varun of the past has like, okay, I will say, and I'm like not saying this in a woo sense, but I like throughout this building a business process has really transformed me, because I was this like kind of a very not organized person with wild ambitions, of course. Like I wanted to become the next, okay, I want to lead the battery industry, and I want to sell my product and all of that. And of course, by all means, those were good ambitions, but honestly, there was nothing really tangible there. I was really good at hyping people up around my ideas, but that was just hype. I think it was at one point, I was like really doing a careful audit of, okay, what really is, what I think that's irrelevant, but what really is in my life right now, work. Because I want to travel the world. Am I traveling it right now? No. I want, this kind of car, this kind of like lifestyle. Do I have it right now? No. Like why really am I trying to get away from my 9 to 5? And that was the biggest thing for me. Like, okay, I do not want to do this. Like, that was the biggest thing for me. So probably what gravitated me towards FBM was this very fact that, okay, there's a way to build that. So I came in with the mindset of like, okay, whatever you say, let's try this, because I have tried other things on my own as well. So let's see if this works or not. Mm-hmm. And in that process, I realized that, okay, things were moving slow, because I had my own weird way of thinking about like business. And so every time I would learn new, I was slow to adapt. But then I made a commitment to myself, like, okay, you know what, I'll stick to it, and I'll see where this process leads me. And slowly but steadily, like the change was slow, but definitely in the right direction. That was the transformation for me in the last 1 year.
I love it. That's really, really well said. And if you look at all the lessons that you've learned over the last years with FBM, what would be like the biggest lesson that you've learned from us?
Consistency, for sure. Like show up every day, no matter what, for your business, because your business does not care for how you're feeling. I still struggle with that. I won't say that I'm like 100% there. It's also, of course, a process, but even then, one, consistency, and two, basically clarify show to your audience what are like, resonate with them, and show them what they really want. And once you do that, I mean, naturally, people will come to you.
Love it. Beautiful said. we've kind of touched on that earlier, like, like you just moved to the US and everything. And just, I think it's really great for you because it's great for you to do that at the same time. Like a lot of people could have the excuse that, oh, let me try to get to the US first and then goes to consistent execution of the business. But you handle both first. And I get it because, like I've never emigrated somewhere, but I've also had to get visas and stuff like that. It's just a shitty fucking process, and it's so long and like, and you were executing on the side, so that's pretty cool. And what I want to know is like, what does your day-to-day life look like?
My wife, she works night shifts, so by the time she'll be coming back, I'll be finishing at least one or two things. Right, I start at 6:30, 7 a.m. So by the time she gets back, I'll be finishing on some things. Then I'll have some coffee with her. She goes to sleep, and then I start working on business. A day-to-day life mostly right now is like I would go to a coffee shop, work there, sit at my home office, work here. So it's content creation, client calls, and just like, other peripheral stuff on the business.
Cool, man. Cool. Anything else you want to mention? Anything else you want us to talk about?
I kind of like this was a very big thing for me. And now like looking back and you're asking me these questions, so I'm reflecting on it. The clarity was in fact the biggest thing, and it was like took me a while, and now that I think about it, like I could have learned that faster, but nevertheless it came. But yeah, that was one thing that I always think like, okay, you know what, I could have done this much faster. Like if I just like that thing that you say that, okay, put your ego aside and just do what is told, like, or what is like basically required of you to do, like do it as a sense of duty, so to speak. That is so real because, I wasted about 1.5 years just trying to take in ideas from here, blending with my ideas and thinking whether it would work or not. Mm-hmm. And if I may say, like, that's a regret I have. Why did I not apply it?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's this like, I don't know how to call that. Like, don't gather golden nuggets. Instead, just follow the exact process. This is something I see so many people do. They're like, yeah, and then I got this gold nugget here, and I'll join some free webinar there, and so on and so forth. And it wastes a lot of time in your case. In many people's cases, it wastes a lot of time and even a lot of money. Instead of just following one process, they're all like a hummingbird, like a hummingbird going from here, going from there, this like shiny object syndrome, yeah. And it's cool that you made that realization, at least at some point, better late than never, Here's my other question. So you mentioned earlier that you had engineering background. What exactly made you not want to pursue the engineering thing and then get over to business? What was the process?
I mean, engineering, if I could find something that was marketable and I could break out of my 9 to 5 and do something in engineering, I would have done that. I mean, that is something I was passionate about just as much as I'm passionate about my social skills. And it was both of these are learned skills. So it was just a decision whether like whichever I can monetize.
But engineering is a high-paid job as well.
Yeah, it is, but it's the like gold chains, so to speak. It's me personally. I think even ever since I was even before college and high school, I would say my thing was like to make a big thing for me, something that I create. So I think you also say that, and I really resonate with that. Like it's about, okay, it's something that I've built on, and not just like you're tied to it with an ego, but like it's something that I get to serve people with. That's more of the thing. So I knew that in that 9 to 5, I would have never achieved that. There's always going to be a ceiling of like, no matter how successful I become in my career, there's always going to be ceiling that you can only be this. And that was something I did not want to live the rest of my life with, so to speak. To break into the business was like, had to happen for me.
And you did it.
Yeah. So that's what I'm like happy about, that now that I broke into it and now I'm able to sustain myself, because the moment I just like changed, my family was skeptical, of course. And they're like, oh, wait a minute, what are you doing? And suddenly, so my dad follows me on LinkedIn, and he's like every day I see, my dad viewed my profile. My dad viewed my profile. So he's been following every day. Some of my family follows them, so they start asking, "Look, so why all of a sudden we are seeing these kinds of posts from you? Have you become this or that?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Why are you?" The same kind of question that you asked, like, "Why are you leaving engineering for this?" I'm like, it works, right? It's like I'm now making more than I used to make in my engineering job, so that's also the thing.
I mean, I love that's just lovely that your parents are involved in that and everything. And how does it feel now? How does it feel?
It feels good. I feel like I always feel like that I have a lot more to go, and like this is I would say this is one of my toxic traits. My wife points that out too. That I never feel good when I do something after I've done it. Definitely, when I look at it right now, like. The other day I was driving to a coffee shop, and it's the same route I would use to take to work. So I was driving and I was feeling, okay, you know what? At this time I would be driving to work, and there would be this stress, this anxiety. Okay, you have to slave your day off there, and then not the happiest going there. And suddenly, like, oh my God, I can just you know what? I can just decide to not work today. I mean, not that I want to, but I can just decide to do anything. I'm just chilling in a coffee shop. So it's more a life of my design, and that's really, I like it.
And that's beautiful. That's exactly freedom. There's no better way of describing that. What are you gonna do with the money? You're gonna reward yourself with anything, or you just gonna save it, or?
Yeah, we're planning to buy a house later this year. So that's where most of it will go. For me, I don't really want much other than like I have what I want. With the first investment I made with my very first money was bought my wife a camera, and so because she loves photography, and then bought myself a laptop because my old laptop was really hard to run business with. So and that was it. And after that, it's just like for the most part, it's going to go towards family and house. Like
Hey, I love it.
Share or something. Yeah.
That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. Or, that's also the thing people always say, like, it's about money making, but it's about what the money does and how you can give it back to your family. That's really beautiful.
Yeah, the most important thing was to be like, okay, we get to talk about clarity, because I have wasted a lot of time in that. I just if somebody is in similar shoes, just like follow the process, get things done fast. And it should not take that much of time. All right, thank you very much for watching. Hey, if you also say this sounds great, how can I get started? What can we do for you? Then go ahead and book a free consultation call for you. I'm going to put a link down in the description below. You click on that link, you fill out a quick application, and then you can book a direct call with me and my team where we will consult you. We will tell you what exact steps you could take in your specific situation, what skills you could turn into a six-figure business, and so on and so forth. It's pretty great, and it's entirely for free. So link down in the description, and thank you very much for watching.
So how much have you made now last week?
9.5.
So you're making almost 10K in a week now, mate.
Yeah, and this week is also looking good.